Innovating Education Learning World in association with WISE, an initiative of Qatar Foundation.
UNESCO estimates that half of more than 6,000 languages spoken today will disappear by the end of the century. In school, this can mean children becoming disengaged as they are taught in a second language rather than their mother tongue. There are all sorts of reasons why some languages get abandoned and others thrive. We go to Kenya to find out what's happening there and how one man is fighting to keep his mother tongue alive.
The Yakku are an indigenous tribe that live off beekeeping and fruit in a remote part of central Kenya. The population of 5,500 makes them one of the smallest tribes in the world. Even scarcer is their language. It almost disappeared when the Yakku sought a better life by learning the language of the richer cattle-herding Maasai. It enabled them to trade their honey and fruit on Maasai markets with negative consequences for their language.
Definitely we don't get anything today from the government, simply because all the possessions are given to the Maasai people, and they count that we are part of them.
And now there are only 10 people left who speak Yakku. That's what 84-year-old Stephen Letiku wants to change. He teaches the almost forgotten language.
There are only a few of us left. I'm the most fluent one in Yakku.
Stephen praised Narutu Matunge, a Yakku-speaking woman who died 4 years ago. She was one of the few remaining Yakku speakers when she died. Her passing caused stress in the community. Her death made her grandson organise lessons to save the language.
It is very important to speak that language so that we can identify ourselves as one of the ethnic communities in Kenya.
Matunge's 14-year-old daughter, Lillian, is very happy with the lessons.
I like my language because it is part of our culture.
At the local primary school, there are 230 children, all Yakku. The pupils just speak a few words because there's no systematic teaching method, so they cannot be considered Yakku speaking. Stephen learns by heart and uses materials, but the lessons stay limited to vocabulary without grammar or conversation. The head teacher of the school would like the methods to be improved.
We need to have somebody to assist this old man in writing whatever he's teaching in class, so that we have the hard copies for the references.
It was a happy day when a Yakku dictionary was drafted by a German linguist, but challenges remain because it'll take a long time until the language is fully restored. The teaching of Yakku also needs more resources from the Kenyan government, so these children learning might one day resurrect Yakku culture.
To explain why keeping minority languages alive is important and how this can be done. In this next report from Hungary, we talk to a UN independent expert on minority issues, Izsák Rita.
Rita Izsák is one of the United Nations pro bono consultants on human rights. Her field of expertise is minorities. She comes from the most numerous and highly disadvantaged of minority groups in Europe, the Roma.
I'm very proud of having a Romani origin. And it's one of the sad stories that my family doesn't speak Romani language anymore. And if you know a little bit about Roma communities, you might also know that there are different Roma groups, and some of them are actually born into communities where they just speak Roma language from birth. But some of us are born into integrated communities where there is not anymore a strong language use.
Half of humankind's 6,000 languages are spoken by less than 10,000 people and look set to disappear by the end of the century due to historical colonization and now globalization and assimilation into the majority.
Of course, the minimum is that there should be no interference to languages, so anybody should, in private and public, use their language free without any discrimination. This is a kind of freedom that should be given to linguistic groups. But what is more important, that there are certain rights that need to be ensured. And in order to ensure these rights, you do need to invest some money.
In most cases, funding is spent on schools and teachers, the creation of dictionaries and grammar books, collections of poems, songs and folk stories.
There is also a fascinating story in Mexico where there were only two men close to their 80s who were the only two survivors of a language spoken called Ayapaculo, and these two men had a fight. They don't even remember why, and they refused to speak to each other. Now, these were the two only men who spoke this language. So there was a mobile company who actually helped building a school in the community and invited the two men to come and teach kids on this language in the middle of Mexico. And this was a very creative way to bring the two men together, the only two men who spoke one language, so that they can transmit it to the future kids and generations.
Minority languages can still be revived thanks to folk tales, but linguists have to act fast. Language is a human rights issue every bit as important as ethnic or religious identity.
Now we go to Spain and find out what's happening to the Basque language, which UNESCO says is at risk of disappearing. We'll take a look at the efforts that are being made to save it in this next report.
These are verses in Basque, the native language of the Basque country, and other regions that make up Euskal Herrera. According to UNESCO, it's a language that's at risk of disappearing. But the people of the region put a lot of effort in to keep it alive. The process to maintain the validity of Basque begins in ikastolas. These are schools with comprehensive teaching in Basque. Most are schools with public and private funding that work as cooperatives.
Because I like to speak it, and for me, Euskara is a beautiful language.
If we don't speak the language, it's going to die.
The Basque government provides about 80% of the money, and the rest is contributed by the partners. In addition to the academic training of children, these schools have another goal.
At the end, the project of the Ikastolas is to create Basque citizens. And for this, the central idea is the Euskara. But to achieve this, the methodology of teaching, the curriculum, the culture, has also a lot of importance.
The main tasks of the Royal Academy of the Basque Language in Bilbao are the research and protection of Basque. It was established in 1919, but during the Franco era, it was almost eradicated.
The contribution of Euskara Batua has been security and unity. Now, contrary to the different responses at each site we had before, with Batua we know how to say things, as in other languages.
Around 1 million people speak Basque now, according to a study by the Basque government. There are improvisers that sing verses in the language. Its origin is unclear. Many experts date it back several centuries.
An actor lives the theatre. It's a tool, but the ones that watch also live it. The Bertsolari is similar. It's a performance in front of an audience. Then the acting must have some feelings more or less shared with the audience that it's in front of. And that's what happens within a language. And particularly in a language that has been a source of identity. So the language is lived by the Bertsolari and it's lived by the public.
da bertsolaritza, biei esker zait niri, hain eder bizitza.
And now, Marta Fabregas got in touch with us via our social media pages and says that, in her opinion, preserving a language is mainly the responsibility of the government. What do you think? Do let us know. Goodbye for now.
Learning World in association with WISE, an initiative of Qatar Foundation.